Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I'll talk for another 13, 14 minutes. 15 minutes is the time. I'll try to keep my time, and that's my chair says that you have to keep time very strictly. I'll try. But before I open my talk, I think I should give you a very, very quick introduction, and that will give you an idea of where I'm coming from. I head the iSchool at Northumbria University. It's the largest now in Britain. But I also am associated with the iSchools. So we are an iSchool, of course, but then I am also an elected member on the iCaucus, which is a 25-member body. And also within iCaucus, I'm also a member of, elected member of the executive committee, which is a 5-member committee that makes kind of management decisions about the iSchool. So what I'm going to talk about is it's kind of, you can see some reflections there. But there's also another important point that again you might find some kind of resonance with the first keynote this morning, Professor LIS-ER's talk, is that we are really at crossroads, and we need to really sit back and think that where we want to head and how. And I'll come to that in a while. So there are two parts of the talk. The first one, very, very quickly about the iSchools and what's happening there, part of which you have already heard from Professor Cronin. And then I will move into the second part of where we are heading and then how we can move forward. So these are the things that, again, I have taken from the iSchools. It's a global organization. It's leading and promoting the field of information and so on. There are currently 65 members. 22 members are from Europe. 6 of them are from Britain. As you have heard from Angel's talk now just before me, that there is a huge diversity in these programs. So one of the objectives of the iSchools is to bring in some kind of unity in this diversity and to form a critical mass of information educators, information researchers, information professionals, and to make better contributions. And that's where my talk the later part of my talk will focus on what contributions are we making and are we really making our presence felt. So I'll skip this iSchools vision because this is taken again from the iSchools website that you can easily find out, and Professor Cronin has already pointed it out that there is not really anything new. You really do not expect anything new other than re-emphasizing, reiterating the state that it is we are connecting information and knowledge and so on and people. So what I'll do is I'll skip this, but these will come back in my next slide. But before I move, so these are some of the current members. These are the 22 members that we have. From Portugal, we've got 2 members. From Spain, we've got 3. From France, only 1. From Ireland, 1. 6 from Britain, and so on and so forth. The newest members are, my good friend here and a good colleague. HTTP University is one of the one. Carlos Tres is another one, new member, very, very recent member. Charles University in Prague, again in the last member. I also sit in the membership committee of iSchool, so I get to know who is applying and who are there. So these are some of the members there from Europe. As you have heard from Angel, that there are many, many more programs. They are not yet iSchools, but currently this is what is there. Now, so information science in Europe broadly it varies. As again, there is nothing you have heard from Angel. They vary in size between 5 to 50 plus members of staff. And in focus, library, records management, archives, to knowledge management, to data science. So they vary quite significantly. Some of the iSchools, your iSchools activities are now taking place. They are kind of collaborating, for example, between Scandinavian iSchools. There is between Humboldt and Copenhagen. There's some kind of activities going on. There are research collaborations going on, again, kind of joint Horizon 2020 bid applications and so on. So there are some activities going on, but I wouldn't call it, really, really going very fast or going at a massive scale. It's just beginning over the past couple of years. Now, so the question is that iSchools, we have formed, there is an organization there, and there's a critical mass forming, and some kind of collaboration is taking place. But where do we stand in terms of information science, information education, and research? Now, again, you've heard partly this from this morning's keynote, but I'd like to point this out, that iSchools sit at the juncture of people, information, and technology. And when you talk about people, of course, there comes the society, government, business, industries, memory institutions, and then other things like users and context and skills, culture, behavior, management, and you name it. So there are a broad range of activities and skills related to people. Similarly, in relation to information, there's the content, the records, and the databases, and different types of digital libraries, repositories, web, again, social network data, research data, business data, link data. So the scope is kind of widening and widening. So, and I'll come back to this, that what are the challenges there. So we earlier were, originally focusing on content and records, and which were within our control. Then came the databases, which were outside our control, but we were having some kind of licensing agreement, some kind of access rights to them. Then slowly we moved into, the content moved further and further away from the LIS community. And it is now within kind of the wide world. I'll come back to that in a while. Technology, again, ICT and networks, to web, social network, mobile technologies. At the same time, there are disciplines like, information management, knowledge management. You all know it. But this is where we stand. The iSchools, this is what the mission is, that to try to bring in people, society, community, and link them with information using the right kind of technology that is possible. But this is a very difficult job, because we are not the only player. We are probably one of the weakest players, and I'll come back to that in a while. Why? So we could say that the information profession is dealing with content, and when we talk about content, it is the entire chain, from the content creation to access to preservation to so on, and to services and management. Now remember, if you go back 50 years, when the computers were first introduced, until that time, content was very close to us. We owned the content. We organized the content. We knew our users and we were providing. But slowly it is now, since the introduction of computers, databases came, and then now in today's world, with the open access, which I'll come to in a while, content is far beyond us. Or, to put it in a different way, we are not the only owners or keepers of content. Anybody can have it. And we are now moving into dealing with data, another area, completely another sphere. Dealing with people, society, and organization, again, this is increasingly sort of becoming difficult. Now, I sit at the university committee, what we call the Business Intelligence Committee. Now, so far, within the information world, we had at least one pride. We owned the content, then content became sort of, went outside our control. We were providing access only. We still took pride that we have the users. We own them, we understand them. But now, can we really claim that? Probably Google and Facebook knows more about us, about our students, about our staff than we do. So that's becoming a challenge. Dealing with technologies, of course, it is constantly changing, and that's where the technology, again, do we build technology or do we use technology? Or do we take part in building new technology? That's always a question, and as you may have noticed from Angel's talk, that there is a range of approaches from very much humanities to computing in terms of the delivery and offering of the programs. Dealing with institutions and policies, and then, of course, there are various other external forces we do not have any control. Government, business, industries, they constantly change. Policies, regulations change. Funding, impact has become a major. Professor Cronin mentioned that it is becoming very important, and indeed, in Britain, for example, as part of the REF, Research Excellence Framework, 20% of your research, every institution's, every unit, every discipline's research is assessed based on impact. That is, the impact your research is creating outside the academia. publishers, databases, media, web. So basically there are a number of external forces where you have little control. And all these are external factors that are kind of forcing us to do several things in a different way. So there is a paradigm shift in the information world, and that is where the problem is. Open access, of course, this is the point I was going to make, that we are no longer owners of content. Content is just going behind our control, and therefore we need to think what we can do that others cannot, what value we can add. Competition is growing. There are parallel services, free at the point of use, but there is new information opportunities also there. We can provide personalized value-added information. New job market is emerging, data linking, data analysis, etc. Now, the question is, so this is a question that that is very, very important, and we should try and answer these questions. What is at the core of our discipline? What do we really offer? What is the key strength of our graduates? What can we offer that others cannot, other disciplines don't? And this is we can go out and convince, as Professor Cronin mentioned, that can we go out to our university bosses? Can we go out to our politicians? Can we go out to our employers and say that, look, this is the set of skills that are unique to us, that we can only offer, others cannot, or we can offer it much better than others? What are those things that we should, and more importantly, what is the impact of our research? Again, there is, as I said, there will be a lot of resonance with what you have heard already. Information science research, as Professor Cronin mentioned, like any other field, but it is more so because it is sort of a small field and it is changing very fast, has been very much prototypical, that you have a research, your supervisor did, then 10 of their PhD students did the same thing, replicating slightly, and 10 of their students are doing the same thing. So over a period of time, you could see, I'm sure Professor Cronin now reading a paper thinks that I read a similar paper 20 years ago. What is the difference there? I do the same thing when I review papers. Sometimes I even remember the name of the supervisor. Unfortunately, that's the downside of being kind of an old person. So these are the challenges that we have. Question is, how can iSchools help? It is a critical mass that is forming. It is a global brand, so we probably can sort of raise our voice, can make a claim that this is something that we can do together. There is a new and shared curriculum that we can provide, kind of knowledge sharing. Some of the activities are going, joint degrees and dual awards, again taking place, as Angel has showed. There are some examples of that. Some joint funding applications, and many more things that really we can do together. It is just forming, and over the past 3 or 4 years, there is a massive change in the information field, particularly in the iSchools. And I think we are getting there, and we'll soon be able to create much more a voice, much more kind of a presence. And at the iSchools meetings, and especially the management committee meetings, we now try to see that how we can create some kind of a movement, some kind of an influence at our national level to make policy changes, and then we can bring them together at the iSchools level and say that globally these are the changes, or at least these are the influences that we are trying to make. I think I'm there, so if you have any questions at the end of the other presentations, I shall be happy to take them. Thank you.